For the first time in what seems like years, the console war is back. And I know a lot of people are going to sit there and throw their arms in the air thinking, what is he even talking about? Well, for years, we've all talked about how Xbox and PlayStation, and to some extent Nintendo, have always fought each other for console dominance. And usually, a lot of content creators and people online have always said that Xbox and PlayStation have kind of been at each other's throats for the last 20 years. Well, it feels like there's a new player in town when it comes to consoles, and that is Steam. Now, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and wonder what I mean by that. Steam is PC, and it's always been PC. Well, it feels for the first time that Steam is a genuine threat to not only PlayStation, but Xbox when it comes to the living room. And because of this, we have a new console war starting across the industry. I mean, we're seeing PlayStation pull their exclusives, we're seeing Xbox bring in new leadership, and of course, we're seeing Steam trying to launch a console-like product in the Steam machine that can go into people's living rooms. There's a lot to break down here, there's a lot to talk about, and social media is filled with exclusives, consoles, and gaming. And there's a lot to unwrap when you put all three of those into one place. So let's talk about the console war, let's talk about how it's back, and how Steam is probably changing the industry forever. Let's do this. All right, so you know the drill. If you like the content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel more than you know. So the first thing I want to jump into right now is Xbox. We know that Xbox has had a massive shift in leadership and, of course, direction of where they want to take their console and their product, and not to mention Xbox in general. The brand has been hurting for a very, very long time. And so far, it seemed like a lot of people within that leadership didn't really care. They just wanted to ship games, put them everywhere, and not really have anything tied to the Xbox brand. It felt like they were going third-party publishing, which a lot of people were praising, including people that are on PC because they are able to get those games on Steam. Well, with this new leadership in Asha and a couple of new leaderships in Xbox, it feels like there's a turning of the tide. It feels like Xbox doesn't just want to put their games everywhere. Instead, they want the Xbox brand to stand out more than others. And how could you blame them? When you look at the sales numbers across the board, Xbox is always trailing. I mean, Resident Evil, the new one, Requiem, that came out, sold over 2 million copies on Steam, over 1.5 million on PlayStation, and a measly couple 100,000 on Xbox. Now, a lot of people are going to wonder, what does that mean? Well, it means that people do not want to invest in the product of Xbox. They do not want to invest in the ecosystem because they don't see it worthy of their money. Or they don't think that the product is going to be there, so they don't want to buy software that is tethered to it. That is a huge thing that I don't think people are talking about, is that everybody is talking about how Xbox is going to lose sales if they don't go on PlayStation, or if they don't go on Steam, or they don't go here, they don't go there. At the end of the day, they're losing sales no matter what because people aren't buying games on their platform where they get a 30% rip right off the top. That is something that I think a lot of people need to realize when it comes to branding and owning your own ecosystem. And I know everybody's going to scream from the rooftops that, oh yeah, Xbox isn't doing exclusives. They're not doing this. To be quite honest with you, nobody knows what Xbox is doing, including Xbox themselves. We know that Asha Sharma, we know that Matt Booty, and we know that Xbox is doing a big-time shakeup when it comes to their games, their platform, and what their products are going to be on Xbox. They are not sitting around, they are not waiting, but they are more gathering data to learn what the next steps are. Now, this takes a lot of time for things to happen, especially in a big organization like Xbox. But what doesn't stop is the social media posts of what Xbox Project Helix is going to be, what this Xbox is going to look like with Asha, and of course, all the rumors swirling. In fact, Jeff Keighley's even going on social media talking about Xbox Helix and not even calling it a console. It feels like the console war's already started. This is what he said. Xbox has announced that Project Helix is the codename for the next generation PC-based Xbox hardware device. Now, the funny thing is everybody on social media started attacking Jeff and saying, hey, this is also a console. You didn't call it a console. Now, there's always been this kind of weird history with Jeff Keighley about how he doesn't really like Xbox, that he really does prefer PlayStation, and it's a console war thing. But when you post something like this, it's starting to look like the console war is back. And funny enough, Tom Warren kind of corrected him. This is what he said. PC-based Xbox hardware device, I think you mean Xbox console. Jeff replied, do you consider Steam Machine a console? Tom Warren, Valve calls it a PC, probably because it's designed to run PC games and not console versions. I'd imagine Microsoft is calling the next-gen Xbox a console because it's designed to run Xbox console games as well as PC games. Which Jeff replied to, what is an Xbox console game in your definition, and is that different than a UWP game? Obviously, lots we need to learn about the plans here, and excited to hear more. There's a lot going on here. Let's just be honest about it. We all know that there is some inkling of a little bit of hesitation when it comes to Xbox and their exclusives. There is a little bit of people thinking, oh, Xbox is going to go full on exclusive just to sell their hardware. And that's a viable thing that they can do. Not to mention, we have Satya, who is the Microsoft CEO, coming out publicly and saying, hey, we are going to be in gaming for the long run, which is said in these articles that have been coming out because they've had a lot of public-facing press conferences where they have to talk about this. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has publicly reaffirmed the company's long-term commitment to Xbox, stating that Microsoft is long on gaming and that this is going to continue being the case as Xbox has been going through a fair bit of turmoil as of late. It comes to as no surprise at all that Microsoft's gaming audience may need a tad bit of a reassurance, and this appears to be it. It would be an understatement to say that Xbox has had a rough start to 2026. It came to a head with a huge Xbox restructuring effort that ended with both Microsoft gaming CEO Phil Spencer and president of Xbox Sarah Bond leaving their roles and gaming industry newcomer Asha Sharma taking over. Now, I do gotta say that it's kind of cool to see Satya come out and publicly acknowledge that we need to invest in this, and it's exactly what he says here. In a behind the closed doors Q&A reported by Windows Central, Nadella joined Xbox staff alongside Sharma to discuss Microsoft's top-down vision for gaming. As per the interview transcript, which Windows Central has been able to verify with multiple sources, Nadella describes gaming as one of Microsoft's core pillars. We're long on gaming, he told staff. We'll continue to invest and will always do so. It's up to the Xbox team to show an excellence in execution and creativity. A recent reiteration of focus on this front came about when the new CCO, Matt Booty, committed to there being more first-party Xbox games in the future. Now, that's actually a really telling because, yeah, you're going to get investment. Satya is basically telling Xbox, you're not going anywhere. We're going to invest in gaming because we want to be part of that market. But it is up to the Xbox team to show why we're investing in it. When he says that commitment to excellence and execution, he's not just talking about, here's money, go do what you want. No, that's not what this is about. What this is about is you're going to get money, but we need to see returns on that investment. Not you guys launching games in forever, not you guys bringing out games that don't sell. This is going to be a reevaluation of every studio within Xbox. And so what does that mean for everyone else around the industry? Well, that means competition. That's what everybody's been asking for from Xbox for a long time, is just to compete. And there's another publisher, very popular one, you might have heard of it. It's called PlayStation. They see the tea leaves. I think they understand that, hey, maybe, just maybe, this new leadership is going to be somewhat of a problem for us later down the road. Not right now, but later on it could be. Smart businesses prepare for every situation, which when you look at it, is going to be Xbox maybe making exclusives, maybe bringing out bigger games, and maybe disrupting their hardware or their sales because they make amazing games that people want to play. Has that happened lately? No. But that hasn't stopped PlayStation, because we're going to shift talking about them now, that hasn't stopped PlayStation from really reevaluating their strategy. We made videos and we've talked about this before that PlayStation is going to be making their games exclusives. This has been reported by Jason Schreier in Bloomberg. This has been reported by multiple sources now that PlayStation, even games like Ghosts of Yotei and Saros, are not coming to PC. They're stopping that. The sales on PC did not basically justify the development costs and the release of devaluing their brand, as they put it, of PlayStation because of putting games on Steam. And I have to say that good on them. They made a decision for their business. That's what they want to do. We can't get angry about it. Sure, we want games everywhere, but at the end of the day, we also want competition of platforms. We don't want everything on one platform, right? So PlayStation is going to prioritize their platform. That's what's going to happen from now on. And maybe it is that this Xbox change in leadership and all of this is happening, but I think it's another party coming in. I think that Steam and the Steam machine is a bigger indication of the market and change in gaming than anybody is talking about. Because while the Steam machine is a PC and Steam has marketed it like that, let's be honest, it is a console experience at the end of the day. You don't have to interact with it like a PC. You can launch it like the Steam Deck, use it like the Steam Deck, and that's it. It's an open UI that you just open and it's easy to use. You don't run into any trouble. They patch things on the back end, and most games, or a lot of games, work on it. And the Steam machine is kind of that culmination of all that research that the Steam Deck did for them, where they can take this Linux Proton and now make games more accessible to people that are going to be in the living room. That's what the Steam machine's going to do. That's what Gabe is aiming for. Not only PC gamers, but now the living room and console gamers. PlayStation sees that as a direct threat. It's why they're not going to put their games on Steam. Because why would you buy a PlayStation if their games are going to go later on another console, which is the Steam machine? And I think they see it as a console. And on top of that, you're able to play PlayStation games like God of War Ragnarok on the new Xbox Helix, because it's rumored that that's going to have Steam. So this whole console war thing isn't just Xbox, PlayStation anymore. This is Xbox, PlayStation, and now Steam entering the chat. That is what's happening across the industry. And I think PlayStation is going to adjust accordingly. They are going to look at Steam now as a competitor. And I don't think they saw Steam as a competitor before. Sure, there were some things that were competitive within Steam and PlayStation, but they didn't really see that because they kind of saw the demographic of PC gamers being separate to console gamers. And quite honestly, it's true. Console gamers are not PC gamers. They're just gamers. But at the end of the day, there's a preference in how they want to play their games. And that's where I think Steam comes into play. I think Steam, while everybody loves Steam, and so do I, it's one of the best, if not the best platform of gaming out there, is starting to tread on some territory that it never has before, which again is the living room and consoles. When you want to bring in a little bit more and expand your market, aka bring some console gamers in, or you just want PC gamers to get comfortable within the living room, I think you're going to run into a lot of stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of road bumps there. And I think Steam is one of the few companies that can handle those road bumps and fix things as they go along the way, because they did that with the Steam Deck. They were able to update that thing continuously and make it a far better experience than when it launched. There was patches coming out almost, it seemed, every week on the Steam Deck when it launched. There was so many patches, so many hot fixes, so much stuff, because they really wanted to support it, because they saw that as a huge opportunity to expand their market. Now, what does that mean? That means that everybody's going to be talking about exclusives. At the end of the day, it is. And anybody on PC that says exclusives are dumb, honestly, I can't trust you saying that, because we know that multiple platform, or what everybody likes to call the platform wars, has exclusives on it. Epic Games has an exclusive on it, which is Fortnite. Steam has an exclusive on it, which is Counter-Strike and Dota 2. And Battle.net has an exclusive on it. It was all the Battle.net games, all the Blizzard games like World of Warcraft and all of that. When you start to blur the lines between the platforms, you start devaluing your platform and people aren't going to buy games on it. That's just what's going to happen. I did not see a world where Xbox were just going to throw their games on Steam day and date, but they have. So what happened? Nobody's buying games on that Xbox platform. I think they need to adjust. If Steam started putting their most popular games, aka Counter-Strike and Dota, on other platforms, you're going to have an issue. And I know that people are going to say, well, look at all these third-party publishers going everywhere. Well, that's not true. They're third-party publishers, but they don't own a platform. EA tried to own a platform and they tried to stick to their guns, but their launcher on PC sucked. They don't have a console platform, so they just put it on PlayStation and Xbox, and that's it. They don't have a platform they need to worry about. Same with Ubisoft. They had a platform. Their PC UI sucked and it just didn't work. And they didn't have a console platform, so they put their games on PlayStation and Xbox. They didn't put their games day and date on Steam because they were trying to compete with them. This is going to be a massive competition in the gaming space for the next 10 years. I don't know who's going to come out on top, but I do know that it's going to be a relentless console war, but also a relentless war of platforms trying to fight for your dollar. And I'm all for that. Please fight for my dollar. That's what I want to see you guys do. I want to see these publishers, these developers really fight for my dollar, because that at the end of the day is better for consumers. And while everybody wants everything on Steam and they don't care about anything else because they have a huge library on it, I get that. People love that platform, and so do I. But I do want to see competition towards Steam, because we all know that Gabe Newell is amazing and he's probably the best platform leader out there. But he's not going to be around forever. He's not going to sit there and keep developing Steam into what it is. He's probably going to retire, go on his yacht, and go hang out somewhere. So what is Steam going to look like when he's gone? What is Steam going to look like in 15 years? I want competition across the board. And that even means Epic, that means PlayStation, that means Xbox, that means Steam, that means whatever. And especially when you look at the console space, there hasn't really been competition. It's been Nintendo and PlayStation, and Nintendo didn't bring out any exclusives, and PlayStation outsold them. So I want Xbox to compete. I want Steam to compete. And I want PlayStation to compete. It's kind of like a new console war that nobody saw coming. Everybody thought it was going to be PlayStation and Xbox, and they were going to go at each other, and that's great. But no, I think it's Steam coming in and kind of being that third party that a lot of those publishers, especially PlayStation, are really worried about. They're worried about what's going to happen when Steam breaks into that market, because they are going to break into it with a Steam machine. They have tried multiple times to get in the console space and just couldn't do it, and nobody really gave them a shot or really took them seriously. But now with the Steam machine, they have a legitimate shot at putting a dent in not only Xbox's market, but PlayStation's market, and PlayStation sees that. And Steam sees that. They know that. They know they have one of the best platforms. This isn't something that you can scoff at. This isn't something that PlayStation players or Xbox gamers or Xbox executives or PlayStation executives can just turn a blind eye to. Steam is a very, very well done platform. They know what they're doing. They're consumer friendly, and it's just going to get even better as the Steam machine launches. And I know they want to hit mass market, and maybe they will get like 5 million sales or 10 million, who knows? But with them stopping because of the price hikes of RAM, and now the storage devices having issues with prices, I think they really wanted to get this thing out at a good price where it can basically become an easy buy for a lot of people. That's what I think. I think they wanted people to buy the Steam machine and get into the living room quickly, right before, if you pay attention, in 2026, right before those next-gen consoles start to drop next year. Isn't that kind of funny? They want to bring these things out right before that, right before the Xbox Helix, right before the PlayStation 6, right before these next-gen consoles start coming into living rooms. People are going to be like, well, we just bought a Steam machine this year or last year. Maybe we hold off on these next consoles. Man, sounds like a 360 move. Sounds like an Xbox move. Launch a year ahead of time and make it pretty powerful, where people aren't really thinking about next gen, where they can run games on PC settings, where they can run things any way they want, except it's on a very unique UI like Open UI that Steam has, or full screen UI like Steam has. Hey man, it's a good strategy. I think they're going to try to execute it this year and try to get that thing out. But at the end of the day, it's up to the people, and not to mention the publishers that are competing with them, to see how that's going to look. Because I think the Steam machine is going to sell very well. I think PlayStation 6 is going to sell very well. And I think Xbox has a big hill to climb if they want to sell very well on that Project Helix. I think they need to all compete. And what's better at the end of competition? Gamers get the most out of every publisher. And that's always good for us gamers. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Do you think that this competition is going to be heating up in the next few years? Do you think that Xbox is going to make drastic changes, like bring exclusives back like PlayStation did? And do you think PlayStation sees Steam as a legitimate contender to actually fight them for the console space when it comes to the living room? Because that's what I think. I think PlayStation is worried about the amount of money and the platform that Steam has. And I think Steam has been trying to get into the living room for several years. And finally, with Proton and the Steam Deck and all the testing they've done, they have a legitimate shot to break in and be part of the living room and be part of that console space that a lot of people didn't think they'd break into. Yet here they are with a PC that actually runs like a console. So who knows what happens there? So yeah, let me know down below. I'd like to know what gamers think. And like always, if you liked the video, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, helps out the channel a lot. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games, sharing the latest news, and of course talking to a bunch of people on there that seem to know a lot about the industry. So Twitter's really cool to be around when you read about the news and get all the posts. People break news on there all the time when it comes to the gaming industry, so it's really cool. And of course, I like to know what you've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Black Myth Wukong, God of War 2, and Uncharted 2. I've really enjoyed all three of those games. I've been going really hard on them. I'm trying to beat Black Myth Wukong. That game's pretty long and it's beautiful. And of course, the God of War game and the Uncharted game are a little shorter, so I'm working through those very here and there, having a lot of fun with them. And of course, I've been playing World of Warcraft Midnight because that just launched and I'm really looking forward to that. And then coming up, the new season of Diablo is coming out, Diablo 4, and it's a Doomslayer / Diablo crossover thing that they're doing. Oh my God, I'm jumping into that. It's not even funny. I'm going to play so much of that season and get all the Doomslayer skins I can and all of that. Dude, I'm hooked on that. It's over. I'm going to get all the Doom stuff I can because Doom is awesome. It's one of my favorite franchises. So we're going to have fun with that. But yeah, let me know what you're playing down below. Always gives me a little bit of inspiration to see what people are playing. And you never know, maybe you're inspiring me to play something that I didn't really want to give a chance to. So let me know, gamers, down below. And that's all for now. And until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.